Do you remember the 21st night of September? Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do the September TBR. What I'm going to read in September. For YouTube, I read about 4 to 6 books a month, and lately, in the past month, it was an abnormal month and I read about 13 books. So I figured with September I would do a little bit of a reach of a TBR and I would put 10 books on that list. The first book on my September TBR is Brazen Rebel Ladies Who Rock the World by Penelope Bagieu. This book should be easy to get through because it has pictures and it's just short stories on the history of the women. So I'm very excited to get into it. It is about rebel ladies who rock the world. I mean, put simply, as I mentioned in my Goodreads, my top rated Goodreads books, I want to read this. I want to be able to recommend this book to my young cousin. She's 8, and so I was very interested in getting to it so I could maybe buy it for her for Christmas and use it as a present. So I really wanted to get into that book. The next book on my September TBR is Fetch, How a Bad Dog Brought Me Home by Nicole J. This book is actually coming up on a new video that'll be out in a couple weeks. I filmed it before and the video was trash. This book was actually recommended to me by Goodreads. In that video I did personal recommendations done by Goodreads, and so I wanted to get to this book and get started with it in September. However, that video will come out in the beginning of September at some point. This book is a graphic novel memoir and it was based on the fact that I love Lucy Kingsley, who's sitting right up here on my shelf, who also writes graphic novel memoirs. So it's about Nicole J. George's life in her teen years when she got a dog, and that puppy was a lot like her at the time of her teen years. You know, she was an angsty teen, and that dog was a bad dog. So really they became companions, and for the next 15 years that dog was the only stable thing in her life. So she really came to love it dearly. Lucy Kingsley also had a cat named Lenny who had been with her through a lot. And so I imagine if Lucy Kingsley was going to write a graphic novel about Lenny, this would be very similar, I hope. I hope to really like this book. I love graphic novels, and I don't read enough of them, especially ones outside of the graphic novel memoir. So even though this is similar to books I've read before, I'm really excited to get to this book. The next book on my September TBR is A Princess Theory by Alyssa. This book is like Fetch in where it is popped up on my Goodreads recommendations, so it is coming out in that video. But basically this is a romance about a woman who lives in America, and she gets an email that she is betrothed to an African prince. Immediately thinking it's a scam, she deletes the email. Well, turns out it's not a scam, and she is actually betrothed to an African prince, so he goes to find her. And he pretends to be not royalty so that she'll like him, and, you know, it gives me very much, what is that movie? Yes! It gives me... It gives me very much Prince and Me vibes, where he pretends to be not royalty, goes to college, but in this book, you know, he pretends not to be royalty for her to fall in love with him. And so hopefully it's going to be a really great romance. I'm really interested to see what that's about. The next book on my September TBR is A Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book is kind of part of some secret plans that I've got going on for my reading taste. Also, it's been incredibly recommended throughout BookTube. The only thing I know about this book is that it's a campus novel, and it's a mystery set on a campus. That's all I know, and that's all I want to know. It's been really hyped, and I don't really want to know anything further than that. When people describe other campus novels, they're like, oh, it's just like A Secret History. So since I don't know what A Secret History is about, I want to read it. So I know if there's other books like A Secret History and I like this one, I can read those. The next book on my September TBR is another graphic novel, and it is Scott Pilgrim Volume 1 by Bryan Lee O'Malley. This book, or this comic, you know, Volume 1 is the first 3 comics in one volume. They have multiple volumes. This book helped format Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the movie. I have never seen the movie, but I really want to read more graphic novels that aren't memoirs, and so I wanted to get to read this one. This one will give me more of that comic book feel I'm hoping for, and I've heard Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is hilarious, so I'm hoping that the comic is very similar. The next book on my September TBR is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This book is a historical fiction novel, and like the previous two books and like the next book, it is part of some secret plan that I've got going on for my reading. I have not read a lot of historical fiction, so I'm really interested to see what it's about. I like history. My bachelor degree was in art history, so I like learning about history. So I'm hoping to see a novel set in a different time and a different world that I might not know. I don't know much about it, and I really don't want to know, so that's what I'm hoping for. So that is the next book on my September TBR, and I cannot wait to read it. The next book on my September TBR is Barred to You by Sylvia Day. The only thing I'm going to say about this book is it's an erotica, and I'm interested to see what happens. The next book on my September TBR is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This book was featured in my video of the top rated books on my Goodreads TBR. It is an autobiography of Maya Angelou throughout her childhood and teen years. This is her most popular autobiography. It is number 1 in the series, so I'm interested to see what happens with that book. Number 9 on my September TBR is Fear of Flying by Erica Jong. This book was in my lowest rated books on my Goodreads TBR. This book is about a woman who has an affair on her husband, and she decides to leave her husband in Europe, and she crisscrosses Europe and has an affair, and it really teaches her about herself and about her marriage and really what she's looking for. And I'm excited to see how this book is going to be played out, because it was written in 1973, and at the time it was the leading book on sex and feminism. And so really, has that book stood the test of time? Are the things that we're talking about in 1973 still relevant to somebody in 2019? So I'm interested to see how that plays out. The last book on my September TBR is Fresh Ink, an Anthology, edited by Lamar, Giles. This book was also recommended to me by Goodreads, and it's an anthology by 12 YA authors. 10 short stories, a graphic novel, and a one-act play. And it does, in the description on Goodreads, it talks about it being own voices, so hopefully there are some different stories than the normal YA stories. I'm interested to see what it is. It was recommended to me based on the fact that I read Meet Cute, which is also a YA anthology. Meet Cute is more of a romance, so I'm not sure if these are about romance or how that plays out, or if they basically recommended it to me because it was an anthology, and so was Meet Cute. So I'm not sure, but I'm interested to see. Those are all the books on my September TBR. I'm super excited to get to all of them, and hopefully more. Like I said, this month I read 13 books, so hopefully I can get to more books and kind of read new things on my shelves. So I'm interested to see how that all plays out. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe down below and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post videos. If you have any questions or concerns, please put them down in the comments, and as well, you will find my other socials in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Usually I read historically before. Wow, words are hard.
You want to be in the frame? Come here. Oh yeah, Grinchy's wants to say hi. Want to say hi? You want to say hi? Oh yes.
This book was also recommended to me by Goodreads, and it is an anthology by 10 YA authors.